Hello and welcome back. So, the bottom of this page, we are going to go over combining like terms. However, that is not what's going on in this video. In this video, we are going to talk about the properties of equality. So, on this first page of your notes, just section off underneath where we have the steps to solve an equation and just title it Combining Like Terms. You will work on a video or do this in class with your teacher later on. So I just wanted to show you, do not write what we are about to write in this video underneath that space. So you need to start a fresh page, the next page in your notebook. And we are going to title this page One-Step Equations. And some of you may be like, one-step equations, what does that mean? It just takes one step to solve. And the answer to that question is yes. So one-step equations is what we are going to title this. Now, before we start actually going through and solving equations using these steps, we need to understand how we are going to solve these equations. What does it mean when we're going to use inverse operations? Okay, so from our class discussions before, okay, equations show two things that are equal. Equations show two things that are equal, right? I think we can agree that equal sign is showing us there's two things that are the same, okay? So, therefore, what we do to one side of our equation, we must do to the other side. It's like a fraction. What we do to the numerator, we have to do to the denominator. With an equation, what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do the same thing to the other. So go ahead and pause this video so you have these two statements down. Once you have finished them, go ahead and unpause the video. Okay, so to show you what I mean by this, we're going to talk about something called the properties of equality. Okay, so when we are working with really any kind of math problem, we have our four operations. We have addition, and I'm going to skip a couple lines, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So when we are looking at equations, we are going to use something called inverse operations, which is the opposite kind of operation that is being done in the problem. So for example, we would use the inverse operation of addition if we had a problem such as this. X minus 6 equals 10. If we're trying to figure out what x is equal to, what we can do is we can add 6 to 10 to figure out what x is equal to. So to show this in terms of doing what we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. If I add 6 to the other side of the equation to figure out what x is equal to, I have to add it over here. And you'll notice when we start talking about solving equations that these two things are going to cancel out and we'll be able to figure out what x is equal to. But this is the property of equality. I'm showing that what I do to this side of the equation, I'm doing the same thing to the other side. I'm adding 6 to both sides of the equation. Subtraction, let's say I have a similar problem. I have x plus 6 equals 10. Okay, well, in order to figure out what x is equal to, I can subtract 6 from 10 in order to figure that out. So if I subtract 6 from 10, I have to subtract it from the other side as well. So again, we're doing the same thing to both sides of the equation. So x plus 6 equals 10. We subtract 6 from both sides. Multiplication, let's say I have this problem. 1/2 x equals 10. In order to undo this division that's being done, remember this is 1 divided by 2, I can multiply both sides of the equation by the reciprocal. I'm doing the opposite kind of math than division. I'm multiplying and I'm keeping it equivalent. I'm multiplying both sides of the equation by the same thing. Division, if I have 4 times x equals 20, in order to figure out what x is equal to, I could divide 20 by 4 to figure it out. Again, I'm doing the same thing to both sides of the equation. We're keeping it all